Hi there, welcome to the archives. So I was able to do a little bit of reading this week, and I wanted to come share some of what I'm reading right now. The reason I wanted to share this section specifically is I saw online a couple days ago one of these white women, I think they're like political commentator or somebody, and she was, to me, I'm paying attention to when people are trying to like rage bait, right? Just to say wild off the cuff stuff, so then all of us start getting into discourse and going back and forth. So I saw the clip and I just moved on. I try not to say anything because I've seen this person having an argument with other black women before, so I already know that I'm gonna assume they don't tend to like, especially particular types of black women, right? Like the black feminists who are always pushing gender and intersectionality and race. And her comment basically was, I don't give a F about race. All of those race baiters over there make everything about race, right? It's nothing, it's a tale as old as time. It's as American as is America. It's a very like liberal white supremacist take where they act like, oh, I don't see race, and I don't know why they're still talking about race. Racism is ended. Get over it, right? And there's like innocent, like I just don't participate in any of that anger and outrage that those black people do. That kind of a thing, right? So I just don't even engage because you sound stupid. But here's the reason why you sound so stupid. If you, in 2026, can't see that liberation for all won't ever happen unless there's liberation for black people, you are not only short-sighted, you probably come from people who have never thought about their own people 7 generations from now. You are probably living in a world where you have some sort of economic comfort, because race and class especially are so tied, right? So if you're talking about class and or you're speaking up for Palestine, it was Nakba Day yesterday, but you can't understand race, it's because you probably have an interpersonal issue with especially black people, specifically probably black women, right? There's a black woman somewhere who's pissed you off, and now you've cast all black people in this person's light. I could be wrong, but I just want to share a segment from this book on why, if you are still in 2020, at this big age of 2026, you still can't understand why anybody would be making everything all about race. It's because you choose not to. Okay, so I just started reading The Conjuring of America. I saw a couple people online have actually shared this book recommendation, so I decided to check it out from the library. It's called The Conjuring of America, Mojos, Mermaids, Medicine, and 400 Years of Black Women's Magic by Lindsey Stewart. Is it also Mojos? I'm going to start with chapter 1. I'll be back to talk about Oshun, because I want to talk about Oshun. But like, it's 6:30 in the morning. I'm still in my house gear. When I talk about Oshun especially, I feel like I need to be dressed. Like, I'm a little bit shy, like the Petit Scan Win, the men couldn't look at her. That's how I feel about Oshun. Like, oh my goodness, I'm not worthy. So when I get dressed for the day and on another day, I'll be back to talk about Oshun. Here I want to talk about why race matters, okay? And why race is so tied to class. And if you're still having a class consciousness conversation, but you can't see race, it's because you probably hate black people. And here's why. This book, Lindsey goes into a chapter. The first chapter starts with Vicks VapoRub salve. I don't know any black person, even as a Ghanaian African, we grew up heavy on Vicks VapoRub. As Ghanaians, we had rub. We had the little one. I don't know where's rub made out of. 1 second, let me check. But I grew up with both Vicks and the tiny red and blue, and Tiger's Balm. Those are the 3 we grew up in our household. Vicks VapoRub, the purple blue one. We had Rub, R-O-B, or B, with the red. It's like a red little tiny thing. The salve. I just ordered a salve actually from locally sourced salve. I'm supposed to get it on Tuesday. So I've grown up with salves, okay? I'm sure a lot of you know the Vicks VapoRub. So did you know that word on the street, according to this book, is the man behind Vicks is called, his name is, what is his name? Lunsforth Richardson. Lunsforth Richardson. That sounds either English or Dutch. Lunsforth Richardson. He was born in 1854 and he lived till 1919. It says here on page 18, he's a southern white man born in Selma, North Carolina, and he's credited with the development of Vicks VapoRub in 1894. So his story, says, seems quintessentially all-American. He experienced certain hardships. His father died when he was but 2 years old. His mother died when he was a teenager. His family home was decimated during a war. He was left with very little money after this war to start his own business. And then, with a stroke of luck, he went from rags to riches when his experimental drug salve saved the day during the 1918 flu epidemic. It is estimated that sales for Vicks VapoRub jumped from $600,000 in 1917, so just 2 years before he died, to almost $3 million, which would be around $67 million today. And this was all during the 1918 flu epidemic, and it made him an instant millionaire, which is the American dream, right? But it says, but there's a dark underside to Richardson's American success story. Slavery is part and parcel of his particular dream. So from the surface, you hear this story, you're like, wow, right? Amazing. This man, he arrived from Europe. His family's gone through stuff. He's now an orphan, right? White people also have hardship. We are also oppressed. Look at his story. He went from rags to riches. Why are you making everything about race? Don't you see that he's also had a hard life just like black people? Can't you have any sympathy for him? He made himself a multimillionaire. Self-made. Yeah, valid, okay. But then you dig a little deeper, and it says that, the slavery was involved. So slavery is part and parcel of his particular dream. Again, this is from page 18. His family home was a plantation. Oh. So the parents that so tragically passed away, they owned enslaved people. Huh. Okay. The war that ravaged his family home was a civil war. Oh. He grew up among enslaved women who had an extensive knowledge of plants and herbs that formed the basis of and were indeed the key active ingredients found in his original magic salve. Also, it sounds like he stole from a black woman. Huh, let's go, reader. Let's read. Reader, let's read. It says, recently, the medical contributions of enslaved Africans made this country have been on the national spotlight. So there's a Yoruba man who, in the 18th century, Onesimus, helped the city of Boston stave off a widespread outbreak of smallpox with a vaccination method from his homeland, Yoruba. Also, he's from West Africa, probably a Nigerian. And he helped with the vaccine for smallpox. Oh, so black people aren't just monkeys that swing off the vines of trees in Africa. I thought they were all monkeys. Oh, they do science over there. Okay, let's continue reading, reader. Let's read. It says, but there's also a lesser-known story to be told about the countless anonymous enslaved African women who toiled on the plantation and cured the sick day in and day out for centuries. So this particular story, what we find out is, remember Lunsford, one of his relatives, his own family, describes the following scene from his childhood. So there's a prominent cabin in the slave quarters. Every day without fail, this woman who was basically, when all of the enslaved children were away from their mothers, when their mothers were busy on the field, she would take care of the kids, right? Come to the cabin, come get some food. Around noon, she would call bread and liquor, and all the children would come running with their little wooden bowls to get a cup of soup. Richardson, man from the Vicks VapoRub, he was one of them. So he was invited to the cookout. He was from a young age. He was running over with the black kids, going up to Mammy, getting food, being like, oh, what you got going on in here, right? Looking around. She would teach him, talk about certain things. So his Mammy, it says the Negro Mammies were enslaved black women who did domestic work and who also knew about and drew from the herbalism within conjure to treat illnesses. So his Mammy was a tall, middle-aged woman, and she took care of the family. She knew a lot of the old ways. She knew what herbs cured what, and her specialty was in treating flus and colds and such. Okay, his father was also a doctor. Richardson would have seen treatments that were far different from those administered by his doctor father, like bloodletting. He would also see the flowers, roots, barks, leaves were used for teas to treat colds, coughs, and fevers. So long story short, his version of the story comes out. Then we find out from his own family members that he was in the circle, right? He was in the room with his black mammy learning about all of these different things. But more importantly, what had happened was he went away to university, okay? The children in the home, remember, the enslaved side, because you guys were growing up with enslaved black Africans, as they got older, their side of the story, they were, Crystal Sanders is a historian at Emory University, and she told Lindsey Stewart that her great-great-great-grandmother, Wiley, was owned by Lunsforth family, okay? And that the traditions that her grandmother passed down to her were very similar to what Lunsforth Richardson had come up with. So she's like, this man that came up with all of these millions of dollars, his salve is very similar to what my great-great, like what has been passed down generation after generation after generation to us. Okay? Turns out that it says, this is on page 21 now. In mainstream lore, the story of Vicks VapoRub is that the salve was developed out of desperation with a bit of luck. Okay, so what happened is that in 1894, Richard's son was very, very sick, and he didn't know what to do. He just returned home from college. He sets up a local apothecary. His son falls really, really gravely ill. There's one fateful night where he's worried that he's gonna lose his son. So he takes his son to Millie's house. Millie is the mammy on the plantation, okay? The one he grew up with, who he knew can cure all of these things. She treated both white and black kids. Okay, so he takes his son to Millie's house. Soon after, his son gets well. And he's like, oh my goodness, you literally cured my son. What was that? What did you use? So he went back to her for the remedy. She gave it to him, which is where I understand when people say we need to gatekeep stuff, because this is what happens, right? We're just willingly, willy-dilly, oh, let me just share it because this is going to help your family. Well, he took the recipe and passed the salve off as his own. So it says, during the 19th century, many enslaved black women passed down their herbal recipes for cures the same way they would heirlooms, which is what she did with her daughter, Millie Stancil, and they passed it. The Stancil-Shepherd family claims that the recipe for the magic salve that earned him millions was stolen from Millie. So this is where I need people to think more about race, especially when it comes to economic anything. This man made millions and millions of dollars worth of money from a solution that he stole from a woman that had grown up taking care of him. Imagine that level of betrayal. I healed your son. I took care of you growing up and your family. You came to me in crisis when your son needed me. I helped him. You came back to ask for it. I shared it in good faith. And you took it off. You ran and took it and said it was yours. How can you not talk about that story without talking about race? Race doesn't have anything to do with it. He would have stolen in that same recipe from his wife. No, because his wife didn't have that ancestral knowledge to do that same thing. His wife wasn't an enslaved West African. She wasn't into herbalism. He didn't steal from white women. He stole from a black woman and made millions of dollars. Him and his family have made it. Vicks VapoRub is a household name. We will never know about Millie or Wiley. So I don't understand when people say they don't want to talk about race. I just see your hood. I'm just like, oh, you're doing them KKK work. Oh, you really don't like us. Because how could you not? Why would you don't feel for this woman's story? Race had nothing to do with it. Okay. That's very dishonest. That's not telling the whole truth. And to me, it just sounds like you have an issue with us, and you just can't have any empathy. How does that have nothing to do with race? It has everything to do with race. And because of race, because it was race that first of all had them enslaved. It was race that, no? I just wanted to share that story. So I'll be back to share Oshun, and as I continue reading, I'm only going into chapter 2 now. I'll be back to share some more of this, but I just wanted to share the story of Vicks VapoRub, and allegedly the recipe, the salve was stolen from his black mammy that he grew up with on his plantation. So until next time, in solidarity.